What is this intro?
First was this last week, and now it's some wine tasting, or well, technically it's summer wine. But welcome everyone to the Year of the Bird. Today, there's a lot to talk about because obviously something happened last night. Well, not a big shock. We both made it through the Carabao Cup, but obviously we'll talk about what happened during the draw, and then obviously we're going to be reviewing the games this past weekend. Both of us didn't win, just saying. But then obviously we'll preview two pretty important games for both of our teams, and obviously the Champions League returns next week. Um, so yeah, just getting ready for maybe celebrating back to back Carabao Cup trophy. That's what I'm feeling. But how you feel, Charlie?
Yeah, look, very happy to be back on the show. Obviously, Year of the Bird, the Newcastle and Spurs podcast. Look, it's going to be a good show today. A lot to talk about. Like you said, both making it through in the Carabao Cup as we expected. Um, and obviously something happened in the draw that we'll talk about. Yeah, no, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Looking forward to talking about some of the stuff we're going to today. So yeah, make sure you guys watching subscribe to Charlie's Take, subscribe to Tem as well if you haven't already as well, and like the stream. Both streams, it's being broadcasted on both channels, so like both streams and put all your thoughts in the comments in the live chat, and we'll get to all of them as well. And yeah, as always, guys, keep supporting both channels. All the support is appreciated. So, yeah, 10. Thanks for having me on this Year of the Bird once again, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. So, yeah, big up 10, big up everyone, and yeah, should be another good show.
Yeah, we might as well get started. Carabao Cup Round 3, or the round of 32. Newcastle played Bradford last night, at the same time as Spurs Doncaster, and to no one's surprise, one direction. Both games did go one direction. Wins for the home team. Newcastle 4-1, Spurs 3-0. To be honest, nothing really much. It's expected. I'm not going to take too much into it. But just my quick thoughts on the our game, and then Charlie obviously with Spurs. Bradford game, after what we scored back-to-back minutes, like 2-3 minutes, made it 2-0 around like the 20.
Osula is cooking.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat technically top goal scorer across all competitions with 2 goals. Just saying. Be wary, I would say, in round of 16. But yeah, to be honest, we controlled the game. We just had a lot. We had a lot of chances. We did score a third. Joe Ellington also did get a brace, so he is also joint top goal scorer. And what do you call this? And then obviously Bradford did score you could say a controversial goal, but they scored the goal. And now of all players, it's a boyhood Newcastle fan that actually scored the goal. So
boyhood dream, childhood dream, scoring at St James's
and still losing. And then obviously Osula scored to make it 4-1, game over. And to be honest, just a pretty standard professional game, to be honest. And if VAR existed, it ends 4-0. But I don't really care. On to round 4 and on to Wembley.
Yeah, look, from what I saw with Newcastle, it was a comfortable win. Obviously, Bradford, League One, both of our teams playing League One teams. And yeah, in terms of Newcastle, it was an easy win. Obviously, Osula with a brace, Joe Linton with a brace as well. So and then look, you guys were cooking Bradford at home.
Yeah, we cooked Zayn Malik, whereas you cooked Lewis Tomlinson.
Yeah, the whole One Direction link. Yeah, that's funny, but yeah, look, Newcastle as expected win comfortably over Bradford. To be honest, so yeah, that's that.
Yeah, and for Spurs Doncaster, I don't know if you saw that again.
Yeah, look, with Spurs again, just like Newcastle, went exactly how I expected. The team was a mixture of sort of like rotation and kind of our first choice players. You had, I think, around kind of maybe 6 players that I think came in that don't usually start. You had 5 starters in there. The midfield was arguably our main midfield. Fullbacks, Porro and Spence played. But apart from that, the front three was completely different. The centre backs were different, Hanzo and Gray. And then Kinski obviously started in goal. So it was a bit of a mixture. For me, the right idea. For me, even I know it's against Doncaster, but you don't want to make kind of too many changes because I just think that ultimately you need to take the cup game seriously in general. And also for me, just get the game won and you can take these guys off, early at half time or early in the second half. So for me, I think Frank put up the right balance of kind of rotation and sort of starters in the starting lineup. And it was a comfortable win. Look, ultimately, obviously went 2-0 up. Pretty easily. They did hit the post. Actually, Kinski made it was actually a really good save, but it was after we were 2-0 up. He made a save onto the post. And interestingly, Doncaster had one of our loan players playing against us, Damola Ajayi, Spurs academy player, who's out on loan at Doncaster, played against us. And I thought he'd done all right, to be fair. But obviously, with the Carabao Cup rules, loan players are allowed to play against their parent club. So he played against us, done all right, but luckily didn't really screw us over too much. And then, look, second half was poor. I thought we were really poor in the second half, if I'm honest. But ultimately, Doncaster, look, they had a bit more possession at the start of the second half, but they were never really threatening too much. It was more to do with us just being sloppy, and I thought we just took our foot off the gas. When we went 2-0 up, we just feel like our players just called it a day, if I'm honest. And it was a bit complacent. Luckily, Doncaster obviously are a League One team. They don't really have the quality to make us pay for it. But I did feel like, look, we got a bit complacent and we just kind of called it a day, to be honest. And luckily, look, we still defended reasonably well. And we got the third goal. Obviously, Johnson, the standard goal, does nothing all game and then gets a goal. This time, look, he went through on goal. Good chip, good finish. It wasn't his standard tap in, but still, non-existent for most of the game. And I just have to say something. So the positives for me were that we didn't mess around. It was no Tamworth, Colchester situation like that, which I've been burnt for in the past. It went exactly as I expected. Even the game, I knew it would be a little bit disjointed because of the changes and everything. So look, I knew we'd win comfortably. I knew it would be at least for a 3-goal win. And that's exactly what happened. So I wasn't surprised. And I was obviously pleased that we didn't make it difficult for ourselves, which, I've definitely seen us do previously. But kind of my biggest negative is Matisse Tell. I don't know if you saw it, 10, or anyone else watching saw it, but his 2 misses were appalling. Should have been a 5-0 win if he didn't miss 2 sitters where all he needs to do is get contact on the ball and it goes in. It's a tap in. Not only does he miss, but he misses the ball. He doesn't even get the shot away. Both once in the first half, once in the second half. Ball comes across the box. He's center. All he needs to do is just tap it in, misses the ball both times. Look, I don't want to focus too much on that, but he is just not good enough. He is absolutely horrendous right now. Look, he's still very young, so he's got time on his side. But I've been saying this a lot about Tell, a player that I don't see anything in, if I'm being honest, at Spurs, and I really don't know why we bought him permanently, to be honest. Obviously, maybe it was one of Daniel Levy's parting gifts. But still, we shouldn't have done it. I said that based on what we saw on loan last season, I didn't think he did enough to warrant a permanent move. And he hasn't really got better since, even though he hasn't had much game time, to be fair. So, look, I'm not too happy with his performances at the moment. Obviously, he missed 2 sitters, should have at least got 1 goal last night. But look, like I said, just the hope for him is that, look, if he's going to be at the club, hopefully he kind of improves because he's still 19, so he still has time. But not impressed whatsoever, if I'm being honest. But look, apart from that, it was overall comfortable. Not really too many big complaints. Second half was a tough watch. Like I said, we just completely took our foot off the gas. But look, we didn't really need to do much because Doncaster, look, with all due respect, they are a League One team and they're not really going to trouble us too much, you would hope, apart from that one chance they had in the first half. So, look, good to get through, good to kind of win comfortably at home and bring on the next round.
Oh, round 4, 5?
Round 4, yeah, round 4.
We got drawn. We don't even, actually, the big tie of round of 16 is Wrexham against Cardiff.
The Welsh derby, yeah.
Welsh derby. Actually, I'm if it's not at the same time as the Newcastle.
That would actually be pretty good.
That would be
Wrexham,
good.
We know the whole story with Wrexham and everything. So
who knows? Maybe if they make the next round, they can go far. But it is Newcastle United hosting Tottenham Hotspur. Woo!
Oh,
However, the last time Newcastle and Spurs played in the Carabao Cup in a tie, yes, it was like 10, 11 years ago. It ended Spurs 4, Newcastle 0.
yeah. 2015 when we made the final. We made the final that year. Yeah. Under Poch's first season at Spurs.
Yeah, but since then, Spurs have won a grand total of 0 Carabao Cups. Newcastle are the current champions. So we do have a trophy.
You don't have one of these though.
Yeah.
You don't have one of these.
Maybe, well, I mean, we will be in Budapest in the 31st of May. So, yeah, we're just getting warmed up. But yeah, it's Newcastle Spurs in the
couldn't make it up. With us doing this whole show this year, you knew this draw was going to happen.
I was like, yes, especially now that it's at home. If it was away, I mean, actually, to be honest, if it was home or away, we actually do have a very good record against Spurs, either home or away. Last season did the double. Yes, the season before, Ange
won 4-1 against Newcastle.
Yeah, but then we beat you
and then lost 4-0. And then lost 4-0. So
and then the season before, which was the Conte Stellini, 2-1 at your ground, we won. 6-1.
The 6, yeah, exactly. The 6-1. I'm still just traumatized by this.
Yeah.
This is not a draw I wanted because obviously for the show and for us it's obviously good, but you see it here, like you see it on the screen.
Yeah.
Our record at St James's Park.
Yeah.
Pretty much since you guys have been taken over, really.
Yeah.
It's been horrendous.
Actually, the very first game since it was against you guys, but
since you guys have had Eddie Howe, basically.
Yeah, basically.
It's been horrendous. Look, the 6-1, the 4-0.
12-2. And I got 82 likes, I see, as well. And 2 bookmarks.
8,000 views. Yeah. I mean, look, this is not a draw I wanted. Not just because of our record at St James's Park, which is embarrassing the last few years, but also just in general, Newcastle, especially for big six, quote unquote, big six teams, it's a hard game because ultimately Newcastle are the holders of the Carabao Cup, and you guys get really up for these games when you play, whether it's a Man City, a Liverpool, Arsenal, whoever it is at home. You guys always raise your game. It's in the smaller games where you guys struggle more. Exactly. So I'm saying, especially under the lights at St James's, Carabao Cup with you guys being the holders, this is a really tough draw. This is one of the toughest draw, apart from maybe Anfield. This is actually, I reckon, the toughest draw we could have got, if I'm being honest. Maybe Anfield or the Emirates or Stamford Bridge. It's up there with those. 100%. It's up there. So I'm not too happy with this draw for the context of Spurs' chances of winning the Carabao Cup this season. But we have to see. Look, if we're going to go through, we're going to have to... Obviously, the game's not till the end of October, so it's quite a while away. In about a month's time, just over a month's time. So, but the way I see it is, look, I think we're in trouble, if I'm being honest. I think even if we're in a better situation squad-wise, I still think this would be a very hard game for us. We're going to have to put in an unbelievable performance. We're going to have to put in a top performance if we're going to go through, if I'm being honest. And look, the way I see it, I'll say this now. Look, and this isn't even me kind of trying to shit on Spurs or anything, because I like what I've seen from Thomas Frank and sort of the start of the season we've had. But where Spurs are at right now compared to obviously being in a position to face Newcastle at St James's, I'll say this now. If we get through, I will be impressed. If we win this tie, I will be seriously impressed. Yeah, and I'm struggling to see how we do it, just based on Newcastle. I mean, Ten, I know for those reasons, you're very confident.
I mean, if there's any other Spurs fan, because I showed Charlie this, but if there's any other Spurs fan thinking, but it's Thomas Frank, it's not Ange, it's not Stellini.
Here we go.
Eddie Howe's record against Thomas Frank since they met each other.
That's enough. Frank doesn't even have a good record. That's St James's.
It's currently 8 games. Eddie Howe 7 wins. Thomas Frank 1. Yeah. Not a great record, basically. I know, yes, Brentford are not as good as Spurs in terms of the squad, but everyone rates Thomas Frank, so why not?
Yeah. I rate Thomas Frank. I do like him, but he definitely needs to improve this record against Newcastle if we're going to get through.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, it's still 1 month away till this game
Yeah.
actually happens. But and yes, Spurs are above us in the league, above us in the Champions League after one game. So if you want to look at form, Tottenham would be the favorites. But based on the history of the Tottenham or the history of the Newcastle, I would say I'm confident in this game.
I make you guys favorites.
I
Even
wouldn't.
now,
I
I know
wouldn't
it's
say
early,
but
but I make you guys favorites.
yeah. Especially, well, we'll see what happens because it's a month from now, and in terms of the context of the season, that's literally before you play Chelsea, which will be a tough
Great.
game. And
It's a
then
tough
for
week.
us, we play, I mean, the mighty West Ham that same weekend and the day after. So we actually have 24 hours or around that more than Spurs after that game. And also, we play on the Saturday before this game, where Spurs play on the Sunday
Everton, yeah.
against Everton. We play Fulham at home, so we actually go home both games. So yeah, I would say confident even with the scheduling, because I think this will be on a Wednesday. You would think.
Yeah, it will be. It will be, yeah.
The 29th, probably around like 9 o'clock, because it's the prime game or whatever. Just like how Port Vale was the prime game last night.
Do you know what? Port Vale almost done them actually. I saw it was 1-0 until like it was only 1-0 until like very late. I didn't watch it, but I was reading Port Vale nearly sort of maybe snuck a result in that game.
Yeah. But oh well, Arsenal do have Brighton, and Brighton have scored 6 goals in both of their cup games so far. So
It's another 6, and Arsenal are about to hold 6.
yeah, hopefully against Brighton and the game this weekend. I don't know who they're playing. But yeah, we might as well go back to the Premier League. We'll obviously talk about Spurs.
Yeah, look, guys, the tie. It's going to be just a quick one. It's going to be a really interesting game. Obviously, it's great for the show and everything for our kind of two teams to draw each other in the Carabao Cup. So, look, obviously, we'll do a big preview
for one of us by the end of October. One less trophy, whichever one it is.
Yeah, one less trophy for one of us. So, look, when the time comes, we'll do a big preview. But obviously, look, we had to talk about it now a bit because it was obviously the draw was yesterday. So, yeah, look, bring it on. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So now going into the Premier League games. So first game, we might as well do the not interesting one. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle United 0. Okay, that's the end. Brighton versus Spurs. Okay, okay. To be honest, Bournemouth, Newcastle. There's barely any highlights of the game. Yeah, probably Bournemouth were the better possession team.
It's your third straight 0-0 draw away from home.
Yeah. But actually, because of that, we have now kept 4 clean sheets out of 5 games so far on the Prem. So it's only been the mighty Bradford City, Liverpool, and Marcus Rashford that have scored against us.
Yeah.
So let's see if the team we play on the weekend.
Hopefully, another clean sheet coming up on Sunday for you guys. I hope.
Hopefully not 0-0, but
yeah.
To be honest, there's really nothing much said about this game. At least we didn't lose like how we both predicted. We said 2-1, 1-0, something like that for Bournemouth. So at least we didn't lose. But obviously, it would have been better if we won the game. But I'll be honest, I'll take a 0-0. I'm okay, clean sheet, if that's any positive. But to be honest, there's nothing really else I will say about this game. I'm pretty sure you probably didn't even watch the highlights.
I actually watched the game. I actually watched it. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
I was falling asleep, to be honest. Look, it was... I don't know why. You guys went with a back 5 in that.
I think, to be honest, I think we kind of knew Bournemouth will be better than us.
Maybe, yeah, because clearly, from what I gathered from that game, is that look, Bournemouth had more possession. They looked the better footballing team. You guys went there to stink it out, and I'm not too sure why, because I do believe that you've got the players that can kind of go toe to toe with a team like Bournemouth, even though you have struggled against them the last few years. Yeah. But for me, look, I mean, the first shot on target came late in the second half or something.
Bournemouth did have a goal which was offside.
Clearly offside.
But I guess another talking point from the game, potential penalty for us. It seemed like
Diakite and Voltemade. Yeah. I don't think it was a penalty though.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
He was Voldemort was looking for it, but I wouldn't complain if it was. But
It was just a very boring game, 10. It was literally
every away game for us has been boring.
It was just 0-0. It was just a stink fest, to be honest. I think look, considering your record at Bournemouth, it's not, it's obviously better than losing, but obviously, you guys will be frustrated that you didn't win that game because obviously at 0-0, if you get one chance sort of thing, you can nick it. But ultimately, I didn't think you created enough to be in that situation. I think you'll be a bit disappointed that, maybe if you created just that one chance, you could have nicked it. But, it was just a very stale and just boring game, to be honest.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think overall, just not a great game. I guess that's really all to talk about because
there's not much happened. It was literally a snooze fest. It was a complete snooze fest, that game.
So we might as well talk about Brighton Spurs, which at least had some fun in it as a neutral. Because Tottenham fraud watch, at least for that first 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I only watched the highlights, like the good highlights of it, so I saw the goals. Actually, all of them were pretty good goals, and the own goal was actually a really good own goal as well. But yeah, I saw Brighton were 2-0 up, and then Spurs brought it back 2-2. But I guess you saw the whole game. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it was. I did predict a draw before the game, so I guess I can't be entirely surprised with the result, which I wasn't in the end. But yeah, for me, it was a game of like sort of two halves, really. I thought that actually first 5 minutes, like literally very early on, I thought we started well. We probably should have scored actually in the first 5 minutes because we came out the blocks really well. But look, against the run of play, we got caught out, and I said this: we played Ange ball for that first goal. Way too open, high line. I don't know why we're pushed all the way up the way we are. And then Minter obviously goes through. Obviously, somebody that Newcastle could have done with keeping. Actually, he's a really good player.
Scored against us last season.
He did, yeah, and he's doing well at Brighton. But yeah, he obviously goes clean through, rounds Vicario, and scores against the run of play. That goal was offside. I don't know what angle people have seen that suggests that it's not offside. For me, based on what I've seen, it's a clear offside. He's leaning, half of his body's leaned offside. But look, regardless of that, our defensive line should not be that high. It's way too high. And then obviously, yeah, it was reminiscent of Ange ball just for that one time. And then look, our second goal, not our second goal, their second goal was
really good.
It was you say that, but it was a complete.
It was like
mess. Well, it was a complete mess from our problems because I thought first and also after they scored the first goal, I thought Brighton took more control of the game. We lost momentum, and then when they got the second, it was a complete mess because Bergvall just should clear the ball. He's trying to play out from the back. He's trying to be too clever with it. Just clear it. He doesn't, and then we get pickpocketed. Ayari, look, it's from far out, but I do think Vicario should have saved it. I think that it was quite central. And usually Vicario, look, I think he's a top goalkeeper. And he's especially very good at shot stopping. But he obviously let that one slip through. But then, like I said, the shot should never have happened in the first place because we shouldn't be pissing about with the ball on the edge of our own penalty box, trying to play out from the back. Just when in doubt, just clear it when in doubt. That's the number one rule. And we didn't. And obviously we were punished for it. So for me, the two Brighton goals, did they deserve to be 2-0 up? Maybe not, but like I said, one of them, I thought the first one was offside. The second one, I think was look, we were the architect of our own downfall on the second one. And obviously 2-0 at that point, I'm fearing the worst. Yeah, I'm fearing the worst, to be honest. But then look, Richarlison, the purple patch continues and he gets one back for us before the half. And then second half, I thought we played well. I thought we were by far the better team in the second half. We pinned Brighton back. We dominated the game. But we only got one goal. And I honestly believe that we should have won it in the second half. I think we should have won the game. Obviously, Kudus, once again, was our best attacker on the day. Brilliant ball to force the own goal. And I thought Xavi Simons, when he came off the bench, I thought he made a difference. He changed the game and we looked a lot more creative when he came on. But ultimately, look, my problem I have with the second half is that for all that pressure that we put on Brighton, the best we could do was an own goal. Like one goal. We should have, based on the way the second half went, we should have scored at least 2 goals, if I'm being honest. Like we pinned them back, they were struggling to kind of, get any control of the game. And obviously, look, we're chasing the game, so naturally we're going to have more kind of, you know, possession and that sort of thing. But for me, we should have won it, if I'm being honest. And look, it was obviously good to get something out the game. Look, when you're 2-0 down, look, you know, when we were 2-0 down, I probably would have taken a draw at that point, to be honest. So look, not a terrible result. Look, Brighton are a very difficult team. They often, you know, I think they're unbeaten in their last 10 games at home. And they look against sort of the big teams at home, they often do well. That's where they kind of get a lot of their points. But then when they face lower teams, that's where they sort of struggle. So I knew this would be a hard game. It's not a game that I was super confident we were going to win, to be honest, just knowing the way Brighton are at home, especially against sort of the bigger teams and everything. But ultimately, look, you know, it was good, like I said, good to get something from the game, considering we were 2-0 down. But also annoying that we didn't win, because I think with the way the second half went, we should have won the game. And also, look, if we didn't, you know, mess around with the second goal and the ref could do their jobs for the first goal, maybe we do come out with a win with 2 goals, if that. But obviously, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, and we got a draw. So, look, it's not a disaster. It's not like a disgraceful result or anything, but you know, it should have been a win based on, you know, a lot of things in that game. But look, a draw at Brighton, it's not, like I said, it's not, you know, a disaster. It's still early in the season. You know, we're not dropping sort of points at the business end. So we'll see. But yeah, 2-2, you know, not a terrible performance in the second half. But yeah, for me, good. Like I said, the positive, we got something from the game from being 2-0 down. But I think it should have been a bit more, if I'm honest. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Brighton game. So not a disaster, but then not great either.
Yeah, and just my thoughts. Yeah, I guess it was probably the same. Probably Spurs should have done better in that first half, I would say, because Brighton, I think, took advantage of some bad mistakes, like the high line and the second goal where you messed up how clearing it and all that. But I guess we'll preview actually we do play Champions League, but we'll first preview the weekend games, and we'll start off with the game actually at night.
It's a night game on Saturday, 8:00.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. So Saturday night football. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers with 0 points playing against Dr. Tottenham, who are like joint second, third, fourth, wherever in the league, like really good form right now. So yeah, Dr. Tottenham hosting Wolves, and I think last season it ended 2-2.
2-2 and 4-2. Look, just before I kind of talk more about the game itself, I want to show you guys something. I'll ask you this, Ten. I want you to let's play. Look, to start sort of this preview for the Wolves game. Let's play a little bit of a game. Let's play a bit of a game here. So I'm going to put this up. I want you to see this. What do these 3 things have in common? What do these 3 things here have in common? I want you to answer this.
I mean, they always turn up against Spurs or the team that you support.
Yep. All 3 of these things.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to Tim Krul as well.
All 3 of these things is Charlie's kryptonites.
We have a Port Vale fan?
Oh, Port Vale. Big up. Big up to you every single time.
We weren't there, unfortunately.
Oh, it's a shame. You guys, a bit unlucky.
And hopefully Stoke don't get promoted.
Nah. I'll put Port Vale over Stoke all day.
Big up to PVFC Life.
Yeah, like I was saying, these 3 things are Charlie's kryptonites. Cittadella, Palermo. Obviously, I've mentioned them a few times on on La Pina Rossa. I've mentioned them. Luckily, they did get relegated last season, but for those who don't know, they were Palermo's bogey team. Tim Krul against Newcastle against Spurs and Palermo, if you know about that game, 10, on his debut, was against Palermo in the UEFA Cup in 2006. And he turned up against Palermo. He was crazy. You guys beat us 1-0. And obviously the game against Spurs, where he made a record number of saves in like 2014 or something.
Yeah, until De Gea beat it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also he announced his retirement yesterday.
He did, yeah. So I thought it was kind of a good time to bring up Tim Krul because he just announced his retirement.
In terms of my time, Shay Given or Tim Krul? I actually would say Tim Krul.
Tim Krul was great, yeah. In his prime, he was great. But the third thing is Wolves. And Wolves, who we're playing this weekend, is a massive, massive issue. Because, yes, like Ten said, they got 0 points. They're going to be in a relegation fight this year, just like the last couple of years.
I mean,
But I don't understand this. We cannot beat this fucking team. I don't get it.
I mean, it's us with Bournemouth, so now it's...
No, but Bournemouth are better than Wolves. At least Bournemouth are like a team that could maybe push for like Europe and that sort of thing. Wolves are fucking relegation fodder.
I mean,
right?
I mean, they did finish above Spurs last year.
Yeah, but look, they did, but we threw the league in the second half, so I'm not going to count our second half of the league last season. But basically, Wolves somehow, and I think a lot of this is our fault because for some reason we don't, whoever the manager is, and especially Ange, but Ange, Conte, Jose, whoever it is, Nuno, although Nuno beat them actually, but yeah, whoever it is, we don't know how to play against Wolves. And I don't understand it because every single time, right? And I don't know what it is. Look, do we play badly? Maybe. But also, I look at Wolves. Obviously, for somebody that watches the Premier League, I've watched Wolves in different games against different teams. I watched them in those games, and then I watched them play Spurs, and they're a totally different team. They turn into prime Barcelona. You got fucking João Gomez dunking on us at the Tottenham Stadium. You've got Strand Larsen last season.
Former Celta as well.
You know what I mean? It's like, who are these guys? It's just
and they just won against Everton
in the cup. Yeah, just in time. They're getting their form back. You know, in time, because that is the pure existence of Wolves, right? It feels like the last couple of years, and Wolves fans will admit they haven't been good. You know, they've been kind of relegation fodder.
Yeah.
And to me, it just feels like their sole aim is to just fucking turn up against us and take points off us. I don't understand it. To simplify this whole thing, Wolves are our bogey team. They are a team that we struggle against for whatever reason with no logical explanation. And essentially what this means is that the way we are to Man City, Wolves is to us. So obviously we played Man City already. We won 2-0. It's clear that Spurs know how to win against Man City. We can take points off Man City. Man City, probably with how good they've been over the last few years, they probably still don't know why they can't beat us. I'm Man City in this situation. I don't get this. Why do we never beat Wolves? We literally never beat them.
When was the last time you've beaten Wolves?
The last time we beat them was August 2022. And that was 1-0. From a corner.
Oh,
yeah, under Conte. And not only that, right?
I remember.
We have
Perisic
Perisic assist, I think it was. Yeah. Since then, we lost 3 times in a row after that. We then drew at home when they were bottom of the league last season, and then lost 4-2 when we threw it because we were focusing on Europa. But we did lose last season as well, 4-2, right? So in the last, if you take from the 21-22 season, because we also lost 2-0 at home to them under Conte, right? If you take that game, that is what? 2, 4, 6, 7. That is 1 win in 7 against this team. And including that is 1 win in 7, 6 losses, and 1 draw. Our record stinks against them. I'm sure. Look, I know a couple of Wolves fans. Shout out to Ryan G. Shout out to Wolves FI, who sometimes are around the channel and everything. Look, massive shout out to those guys. I have no problem
as well.
Yeah, no, big up to you guys. I have no problem with Wolves fans. No problem whatsoever.
Just the team.
Just the team. Yeah. Why do you guys just constantly just find a way to beat us? I don't get it because it's not. Look, with all respect, you know. I look at Wolves and I say, look, on paper, I think we should have enough to beat a team like Wolves, especially at home. Like Molineu's one thing, but at home, I'm thinking we should beat Wolves at home. And do you know what makes this whole thing worse? Do you know what makes this whole bogey team thing with Wolves even worse? Go and check their record against Arsenal.
Oh, I think I remember they lost like 5-0 on the final day.
Not only that, they haven't fucking even scored a goal against them for like 3 years as well.
Uh,
It's
oh yeah. Check a little bit earlier in the stream. We talked about it.
yeah, big up to Port Vale for life as well.
Yeah. Hopefully Port Vale get promoted.
But basically, yeah, I'm waffling a bit, but this game, if this was a different team, I'll be saying, look, this is a game where I'm fully expecting a win. I'm fully expecting us to win comfortably based on the way we're playing, because I am happy with the way we've started the season. But, you know, this is Wolves we're talking about, and this is a kryptonite for my club that we're talking about. Plus, like you mentioned, Wolves have 0 wins. They've been the worst team in the league.
No points.
No points. No points at all.
In the cup.
Yeah, no points at all. They've been the worst team in the league so far. That scares me. That really scares me.
Oh, because the first point they get.
Yeah, because it always happens, right? We Ipswich last year, Crystal Palace last year. It always happens, you know. And I don't like talking about Dr. Tottenham because I think that it's when our fans say Dr. Tottenham, it's an excuse. You know, it's covering up from what the deficiencies actually are and why we're sort of losing these games against these teams. It's kind of covering up from that. It's just, oh yeah, Dr. Tottenham. It's just like an excuse thing. But at the same time, look, it makes me scared just naturally because I've been here before. But here's the thing. If I look at it from a logical perspective, I fancy Spurs to win this game. I think that we should go into it with confidence. I think we're in a good position to win this game against Wolves at home as well. But I'm skeptical about a lot of things because I think a lot of people probably thought we'd beat Wolves last season because they were bottom of the league until like December when we didn't. People probably thought we'd beat Wolves the year before when they were kind of relegation fodder under Gary O'Neill. We didn't. We lost twice. You know, Conte, who I rate highly, lost to them as well. So how do we? I want to ask you, Ten, obviously from a neutral perspective. I mean, you're probably finding this whole thing. You'll probably find this whole thing hilarious, but kind of what's your thoughts on?
I mean,
are Wolves truly a kryptonite to Spurs?
I mean, considering the last time Wolves actually beat Newcastle was actually 2-3 weeks, or actually 2 weeks, 1 or 2 weeks before the Saudi takeover. That's the last time Wolves beat Newcastle. Including this season, because we did beat them 1-0, we have our record against Wolves, 4 wins in a row so far.
Try 1 win in 7 with 6 losses against a team, like I said, that's not even Liverpool or like, you know, one of these teams. So it's fucking Wolves. With all due respect, it's Wolves, and we're pissing about, and we have this. So I'll ask you: are they truly our kryptonite? Is this is this a real issue going into this game, despite them being like 0 wins, 0 points?
They're basically like, I don't know. You could say our Bournemouth or even our Brighton. This one, it's Wolves and sometimes Newcastle, but more Wolves. But yeah, prediction for this, I don't know. I know they haven't been good. They were okay against us for some parts of the game when we played them a couple weeks ago.
See, look, slowly, the build up to the Spurs game, the building up to their. Look, I call West Ham's. When we play West Ham, I call it their cup final. Is it Wolves' cup final against us? Because that's what it feels like. The way this always goes.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Wolves actually make the Carabao Cup final against us. But I think
I know what you're gonna do. I can't with Wolves. I can't.
Let's go. You go 2-0 up and you bottle it 3-2 Wolves. Second half.
We did lose 3-2 to them once under Jose.
3-2 Wolves is my
when they had Nuno, but that was when Wolves were better than they are now.
Yeah, but even when they're bad, they still beat you.
Yeah, well, no, we've got worse. We're worse against them now because at least when they were good, we beat them in one of the games usually, but we just lose the other game. We never did the double on them, but now we can't even beat them in any of the games now.
Yeah,
when they're worse, like honestly, I don't know. It's
3-2 Wolves. Why not?
You're going for a whole just
to continue your really bad form against them
and giving them their first points of the season.
But then you win the chat. Well, little preview. I think you win the Champions League game comfortably somewhat, and then I forgot who you have.
We got Leeds after that.
You beat them as well, but your suffering is this one against Wolves, as usual. 3-2 Wolves.
You know, I'll say kind of my prediction for this. Look, like I said, if this was any other team, sort of towards the bottom of the league, I'll be saying, look, at home, I'm confident. As long as we're not complacent, as long as we kind of turn up, I think we're going to win. And that still applies for this. However, the problem is that we're facing Wolves. Their name is Wolves. Wolverhampton Wanderers is their name. That's the problem. And Wolverhampton Wanderers is our bogey team and our kryptonite and all of these things. Look, here's how I see it. If Spurs, I don't know if our players have a mental block or not in terms of playing Wolves. I don't know. Look, we got a lot of new players, so obviously this will be their first game against Wolves and everything. But it's obviously Thomas Frank's first game against Wolves. But then this has happened under multiple managers. That's the thing. But in terms of how I see this, look, if we aren't complacent, if we turn up, if we, don't be complacent because they're on 0 points and everything. Look, we have a better team than Wolves. We have better players, and I believe we can win the game. But I'll say this. If we do not win against Wolves now, I'll accept it. We'll never beat Wolves. If we do not win now, we will never beat this team. Genuinely. And this is the thing, right? Usually my really bad head loss is reserved for when we play Arsenal, Chelsea, these teams. If we lose to them, that's when my head loss is the worst.
Or seeing 5 goals in 21 minutes.
Yeah, or if we're embarrassed. Like that. But if we do not beat Wolves, my head loss might be on that level. I'm not even joking. If we do not, because like I said, nothing against Wolves fans. There's no rivalry. Wolves are from like Midlands. There's no local rivalry or anything, right? Like I said, all respect to Wolves fans. No problem with Wolves fans. But if we do not beat your team now, we're never going to beat your team. We're genuinely every season from now on, I'll just be like, look, deduct 6 points from us because they're the 2 Wolves games, essentially. Genuinely, like, for context, right? Our record is so bad against Chelsea, but we've beaten Chelsea more recently than Wolves. Just let that sink in. I know it was from the same season, but still, we have beaten Chelsea, who is historically the team we have the worst record against. We have beaten Chelsea more recently than Wolves. That's how bad our record is against Wolves. So, look, like I said, the way this game is we're facing our bogey team. It's time to end this nonsense. It's time to end this just bullshit about Wolves being a bogey team for us. And it's time to beat Wolves. And it's time to not once again be that team that gives a team their first win of the season, like last season. But luckily, we don't have Ange. And we have Thomas Frank, who I think is a manager that won't let that happen, hopefully. If I'm giving a prediction, I'll go 2-0. 2-0 to Tottenham. But it is Wolves. So, I'm just saying, we have to win. Because if we don't win, we're never beating this team, genuinely. And I've genuinely had enough of Wolves. Like I've been saying I want them to get relegated just so we don't have to play them anymore.
Yeah, maybe you both get relegated, but probably last season. But now it is time for the.
What's your prediction?
I said 3-2 Wolves.
Oh my god! You think it's going to be a whole Dr. Tottenham?
Yeah, of course.
Oh my! I'm gonna 10. If it goes how you said, I'm gonna cry. I might even do like I'll do if that happens, I'll do an emergency meeting. If that scenario, what you said, I'm doing an emergency meeting.
2-0 up and you lose 4.
Yeah, I'm doing an emergency meeting. Genuinely, like I couldn't, but I do think we're gonna win. Just hopefully we block out the fact that it's Wolves and we pretend it's, I don't know, let's pretend it's a different team or something that we're playing. Hopefully.
But yeah, now obviously we're not only talking about a North London club, we are talking about a true North London club, Arsenal.
Bro, they're from South London.
They're going to play Newcastle United at St. James's Park on Sunday. Obviously, both teams, obviously, PVFC life, obviously got to see Arsenal kind of scrape by against Port Vale.
They did. Yeah, they did.
But obviously, we also played League One Bradford, who are a lot higher in the league, I know, in League One. But it's Newcastle, Arsenal. And in terms of the record of us against Arsenal, before the takeover, we had one of the worst records against Arsenal, both home and away. Since then, especially at home, since the takeover, we have won 2-0. Yeah, we lost 2-0. We won 1-0. We won 1-0 again, and we beat them in the cup semi-final when it kind of mattered, 2-0. So since the takeover, we've played them 5 times at home, 4 wins, 1 loss. So based on that, I should be confident. But, the season, you never know. I still think we're kind of building ourselves towards the season, whereas Arsenal, I think, are kind of in it, especially with the title race. They played Man City and the mighty Port Vale. But
they should have lost to City.
I mean, I think they probably should have, but Man City aren't as good. But with this game, Newcastle Arsenal, I feel like, we did have a rotated squad against Bradford and also Bournemouth, but also we have to take into consideration we are playing Champions League on Wednesday, the early kickoff on Wednesday against Union Saint-Gilloise, which we'll talk about after this. But I think it will probably be somewhat of a rotated-ish squad, maybe similar to the Bournemouth starting 11 somewhat, but still have Bruno. I think the midfield will be what you expect the midfield to be, but maybe Osula up front, because Wissa's still out.
Osula. Yeah, Wissa's out, yeah.
Because actually when Anthony Gordon played on the left,
Gordon's finally back from suspension now.
Yeah, that's how he played last night. And he should have scored at least maybe 1 goal. But yeah, I think overall, with this game against Arsenal, I wouldn't say I'm confident, but I would say I think we don't lose. But I can see us drawing this game, like a 1-1, something like that. But I know Arsenal, they have to, they're already 5 points behind Liverpool in the title race. But obviously, if they win against us, then that'll be a good boost for them, because I think I forgot who they have. I think they have Slavia Prague, I think.
Or Olympiacos, I think they have.
Which I know the record. I know Arsenal.
Olympiacos is a bit of a kryptonite to them, I think.
Yeah,
Speaking of kryptonites, Olympiacos has been a problem for them in Europe.
I mean, we are kind of their kryptonite. We'll see on Sunday. But
yes, this is the weekend of kryptonites.
My prediction, I don't know. I still think Arsenal are a much better team than the teams we play against, except Liverpool, you would say. But obviously, when we played Liverpool, when we weren't really that good of a team, and that was even before Valdemar even signed for us, if Gordon wasn't like that, then maybe we get something. And we also conceded in the last minute. But obviously, maybe, who knows? I mean, I know Erling Haaland doesn't have a good record against Newcastle since he signed. But I want to see whether has a good record or will have a good record against us. So in terms of prediction, I will say 1-1, but I'm not. Also, I know about Madueke is out for a couple months or so.
Is he injured? Is Madueke injured?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
And then
I had no idea.
I know he came back and played against the mighty Port Vale, and was actually the usual limping. I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
Nothing new there.
I'm not sure if he's actually hurt and not going to play this game. I'm not sure, but I would say this would be a feisty game, sort of a battle. But maybe Arsenal, maybe with him in the starting 11 up front for them, maybe he bags goals for them. I'll be a little bit more conservative. I think our season still kind of slowly is building towards something. So I'll say 1-1, and we score first, something like that. And he scores against us.
Nah, I wouldn't have that, genuinely.
But if we beat Arsenal, instead of doing this, I will do the next show.
Just the whole time like that.
Where's Gyökeres? If I'll say if Gyökeres does ghost in the
If
game,
he has another, not just a
then
stinker, another stinker, because he's had a
No.
few stinkers so far.
I don't know. I don't think he was that good against Man City, and I think he didn't play last.
The only game where he was good was Leeds. That's the only game.
I mean, we drew against Leeds, so just saying. But yeah, I think my prediction would be 1-1. That'll be my prediction. Because I think we'll put a little bit more focus on what happened, what will come on Wednesday. But yeah, I'll go 1-1. What's your prediction?
Look, with Newcastle, when it comes to
5-0.
Look, with Newcastle, I have to be really careful with predictions because I've been jinxing Newcastle
Against Liverpool, against Barcelona. So
I've been jinxing Newcastle, so I'm gonna have to be a bit careful here. Look, 10 said it. Newcastle's record against Arsenal. Look, Newcastle is Arsenal's daddy. At St James's, they have been bodied the last few years because I've watched all of these games. Not only have Newcastle won, and I know it's been like by 1 goal and obviously 2-0 last year in the cup and stuff, but what I've noticed about all of these games, between all the games that Tim was talking about, was that Newcastle have genuinely bodied Arsenal in all of them.
Honestly, the last home game of Arsenal last season was against us, and we actually were pretty good until they scored. And
yeah, I mean that one that neither team had a lot to play for at that time.
Yeah,
but
except second place.
Second again, ole ole.
But actually, basically, if we had beaten Arsenal and beaten Everton, we would have actually finished.
They would have. Yeah, I remember it was close. Yeah, it was close, wasn't it?
No, but we could have taken away the trophy. I mean,
you could have stopped the three-peat. The treble.
Four in a row.
Nah, 4 peaks may be coming this year, but but yeah, look. What I was saying was the common theme with all of these games that Newcastle have had against Arsenal recently, Newcastle have bodied them. Physically, they have completely bodied Arsenal. You've had people like Bruno, Joe Linton, Tonali boss the game. Declan Rice got bodied by Tonali last time. Odegaard got bodied. Like I remember it. Do you remember what was it when who is it? I think Havertz got bodied by like Dan Burn or something.
Well, in which game? Because we've beat them.
I think it's probably happened more than once. But I'm just saying the way these games have gone is that Newcastle have made it a physical battle. They made it a really physical game, and they've got the better of Arsenal. Arsenal have struggled physically to deal with Newcastle the last few games, and they've made it a real battle. They've made it sort of a kind of a scrappy game almost. And I think Arsenal have really struggled with that. And I think, to be honest, partly I think they've melted under sort of the atmosphere, especially in the cup game. I thought they melted, to be honest. And obviously we know Arteta blamed the ball after that game and everything. So listen, it's we'll see. Will Arteta blame the ball against Newcastle again in this game? We'll have to see. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Like I said, obviously I'm fully rooting for Newcastle this weekend. I'm hoping Newcastle get another win over Arsenal. It's a hard game to call. I think that obviously Arsenal, they've got more options now. Obviously you got a certain number 10, Eze, that I won't talk about too much because of what he kind of did.
Well, actually.
He did, but that's all he's going to get. He's retired from trophies. He's going to win more at Palace than Arsenal. But anyway, obviously they got him. They got Saka's back and everything like that. So I think Arsenal are obviously in a better situation going to St James's. Obviously they don't have to face Isak anymore, which Isak was sort of like really causing them a lot of trouble.
Actually, maybe Voldemort is going to.
Yeah, Voldemort, I think, because of his size, I think he can definitely.
So far, his link-up play has actually been good. It's just that I guess Visser was in the team.
Visser would have been good for this game, but I think Voldemort against Saliba and Gabriel, I think that he can definitely match them physically, sort of with the way those defenders are and everything. I think it's going to be a tight game. There's not going to be many goals. Obviously, it's been proven 1-0. I think Newcastle will try and make it a physical game. Like I said, with the prediction, I have to be very careful. Look, recent history would say that Newcastle are going to win. And I think if Arsenal, look, you know what Arteta's going to do? He's going to go all defensive. He's going to play 3 DMs in the midfield. And he's going to try and sit back against you guys. I think he will do that. And I think he's going to try and make it a tight, not necessarily a physical game the way you guys will, but he's going to try and make it a tight game in the hope that he can nick it off a set piece. But then against Newcastle, you guys have the tallest team in the league, basically. Voltemada, Byrne, Joe Linton. You guys have some really tall players. So I think scoring set pieces against Newcastle is obviously going to be probably more difficult than most teams in the league, to be honest. And obviously, like you said, you're keeping a lot of clean sheets. The defense has definitely been your strong point so far this season. So how do I see this going? Like I said, I think one goal could decide it either way. I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously hoping for a Newcastle win. But I'm going to sit on the fence. I think I'm going to agree with 10. I'm going to go for 1-1 in this game. Look.
Begrudgingly.
I kind of agree. I don't think Newcastle will lose this game. Hopefully not. Obviously, famous last words. But I do think Newcastle have, like I said, they're like 10 said. I agree with you. You're still sort of kind of easing your way into the season. I still don't think we're seeing kind of the best Newcastle right now. Still early on in the season and everything. So I think that might play a bit of a part, but I think you'll get something. At least I think you'll get something from the game. And I think, I'll go for 1-1. And maybe, who knows, maybe another Gyökeres stinker and hooks.
Otherwise, who knows? But yeah, those are the two Premier League games for both of our teams.
But if Newcastle win, I'll say it again. St. James's Park against Arsenal, it's Newcastle's playground.
Yeah. Actually, it's not. You can say North. Actually, London.
The Emirates and the Tottenham Stadium last season was Newcastle's playground.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of the Champions League is back again.
Coming back.
Yeah, and now
second game.
Yeah, game 2. Obviously, Spurs won against Villarreal. Really meh. And Newcastle, we lost to be honest, at least the mighty boss, Trashford.
Rashford. I can't believe that.
But, oh, well. It is what it is. But, yeah. First, we'll talk about the first game on Tuesday. It is Bodø Glimt versus Tottenham. Now, before I get started, the last time Bodø Glimt played was the 21st of September, which was obviously this past weekend. And they are not playing this particular weekend.
That happened in the Europa League the semi-final as well. I remember they didn't have a game. I remember it. That happened because I remember everyone was worried, like, oh, Bodø, they have a week's rest when we don't and everything. I remember it.
Maybe, this time, maybe third time the charm. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Bodø Glimt. Look, I show this because I have fantastic memories of Bodø Glimt. Obviously, Bodø Glimt was one of the teams that we beat on the way to the Bilbao, winning the Europa League.
At their ground. And the team is played in Bodø.
Yeah, so it was 3-1 at home and 2-0 in Bodø. Obviously, this game is being played in Bodø. It's our first away game of the Champions League. Bodø away, it's not an easy place to go. I think that we've seen them cause some big upsets to teams, that you don't expect them to beat. If you Bodø Glimt away, it's the kind of game where if you are complacent and if you kind of underestimate them, they can punish you. I mean, I thought they battered Lazio last season, if you remember, and everything. So
2-0 down against Slavia.
They were, but I think away from home, they're a different team. They're a lot better at home, especially in Europe. They're a lot better at home than what they are away. Because obviously they have the plastic pitch, they have the small stadium in the Arctic Circle and everything.
It won't be. It'll be cold, but not as cold as if it was like.
Well, when we played them last time, it was May and it was snowing. So it's obviously the Arctic Circle. So yeah, look, it's gonna be a tricky game. It's definitely not a game that I think will be easy for us. And if we are going to make comparisons with, obviously, because last season was the first time we ever faced Bodø Glimt. Look, the difference I would say is that when we played them away last season, we already had a 2-goal lead. We were going there. I know it's a different manager. I know it's some different players and everything, but we went there 3-1 up with a game plan where we just needed to see out the game. They had to come on to us, and obviously they left space, and we obviously killed the tie off in the second half and everything. So this time, obviously, it's a group stage game. It's not a knockout game. We don't have any advantage going there like last time. I know it's kind of easy. I know it's kind of, common sense to say, but it's just kind of the way I see it. If you're going to compare the game last time to this one, I think it's completely different circumstances. I don't think it's the same situation. So obviously, like I said, I have fantastic memories from that game and everything. So another result like that would be fantastic here. Look, I don't really look. Bodø Glimt are obviously they're surprising everyone. They're a very good team when you kind of allow them to play. But I'm hoping we don't allow them to play. I think that it's good that a lot of our players that played there last season will know kind of what it's like with the pitch and all of that. So, look, obviously Thomas Frank, I think he'll have a plan. He often does have a plan for each individual team we play. He'll know about Bodø, I'm sure. He won't. Frank's not the manager. He's not the kind of manager that will underestimate teams, which is again another thing that I like about Thomas Frank. So, look, this will be interesting. I don't think it will be an easy game. But I do think if we, like I said, if we're not complacent, if we turn up, if we play a strong team, Xavi in the 10, Paulinho in the 6 again. By the way, I forgot to mention what a goal by Paulinho actually against Doncaster. The overhead kick. Yeah. So Paulinho, if we play these guys, we put hopefully Kolo Muani and Solanke back as well. So we'll have, more strikers in the team as well. We need to put Kudus in there. Look, Bodø is not a game where we can rotate. For me, we have to look. People might say, "Oh, it's Bodø. We can maybe rest." I don't think so. Bodø is not the type of game where you want to take any chances with that. I think we have to go full strength, as strong as we can with the starting lineup. I do think we're going to win. I think it will be close. Obviously, look, we play Wolves first, so I think whatever happens against Wolves, I think might kind of play a part in how I feel about this Bodø Glimt game. Obviously, knock on wood, we don't get any injuries before the Bodø Glimt game or anything. So, look, Bodø will be a hard game. Obviously, they got people like I think is it Berg, their midfielder. They've got Hogg up front, who was actually the top scorer in the Europa League last season. So. Yeah, so hopefully, like I said, hopefully we have Solanke back. By that point, hopefully we have Kolo Muani back as well.
I totally forgot Kolo Muani's at Spurs.
Yeah, he's he got a small injury, but they're saying it's small, so I think that he'll hopefully be back.
I totally forgot he was at Spurs.
Yeah. Well, we got him on deadline day on loan, so and I like Kolo Muani. He's a good player, so hopefully he was good at Juve, of course, last year. So hopefully we can get him in. But in terms of Bodø Glimt, tough game, but it's definitely a game that we have to win because I think, look, like I said, Bodø are a tough game, but we're definitely going to have some much harder games than Bodø. Obviously, PSG away in the Champions League eventually. So I think that, like I said, it's nice to have a bit of a rematch. It brings back good memories. But in terms of my prediction, I think 2-1. I think 2-1 Spurs. I think we just do it. I think, like I said, look, Bodø, not going to make it easy for us. I think we might struggle, to be honest, in period, especially if we have another bad second half like we did against Villarreal. I think Bodø at their ground can definitely punish us if we play like that. So we're going to have to play a lot better than Villarreal. But I think we might just edge it. I'll go 2-1 Spurs, just about, I think. What's your thoughts on Spurs taking on Bodø Glimt in our second Champions League game? Oh, here we go.
No, I don't think it'll be third time's the charm. Maybe fourth time, maybe in the knockouts if you play them. But I do think that Bodø Glimt, I mean, they've been obviously on the rise the last few years. The most notable, not the Spurs game, but obviously, what is it, 6-1 against
6-1 against Jose,
yeah,
Roma.
But obviously, eventually, Roma and Jose did win the Conference League, that very first ever edition. So maybe if you lose 6-1 in this game,
oh my God,
win the Champions League.
Let's do it.
But you have to lose 6-1 against Bodø.
Oh, I'll take it. If you offered me 6-1 loss to Bodø in Champions League, I'm taking it all day.
But I would love to see the head loss, but unfortunately, I don't see it being 6-1. 5-1. No, I'm kidding. My prediction for this game, you would expect Spurs to be obviously the favorites. Obviously, as you said, the last time you played them at their ground, you had a 2-goal advantage, which kind of helped your cause, and maybe obviously different manager and different game plan. So this time, Bodø Glimt, it's the first game. It's at their stadium.
Yeah, their first ever Champions League game as well. They're going to be their fans are going to be well up for it. Yeah.
So I can see them obviously putting up a very good performance. I think they'll cause a lot of trouble compared to the last time you played them at their stadium, because obviously it was a different circumstance. So I think they'll go for it. I just think that maybe just a little bit of quality in the end for Spurs will be enough. And I'm going with a 2-1 Tottenham win. But I can see Bodø Glimt either scoring the first.
I do think they'll get a goal. To be honest, I think
either scoring the first goal or equalizing goal, or the last goal. But I think they'll definitely cause a lot of trouble for Spurs. So, but I'll also say, what do you call this? 2-1 to Tottenham, which means 6 points.
Hopefully, 6 from 6. Look, it will be a good start if we can do that. So we just got to hope we can do it. So just got to get in. Look, we got to push towards the top 8 as early as possible.
Yeah, and in terms of the team in the top 8, Union Saint-Gilloise versus Newcastle United on Wednesday, the early kickoff of that round. I know I have a watch-along planned, but most likely I will not do a watch-along for that game. But obviously, Union Saint-Gilloise were away at PSV Eindhoven, another team we're playing like that all the way in January. They beat them 3-1. Actually, the very first goal of the Champions League was from Promise David. And obviously, for anyone that's a Liverpool fan or anything obviously like that, obviously, what do you call it? Alexis McAllister's brother is
Kevin McAllister, Home Alone.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
wait.
It's great. Yeah, Kevin McAllister.
Not this one. This one.
This one. Yeah.
Yeah, but but obviously, ahead of that game, obviously not Bodø Glimt, Union Saint-Gilloise. Obviously, it's their first Champions League campaign ever in like the league group phase. Same with Bodø. So we're both playing debutants.
Both in their first home game as well.
Well,
both of us, so
technically not really Union Saint-Gilloise home because the stadium's not fit for purpose, which means that the game is at the Constant van den Stok Stadium or Lotto Park, which is the home of Anderlecht football club, but they're both from Brussels anyway. But obviously, it'll be hopefully a nice atmosphere for the game. And obviously, Union Saint-Gilloise, they have, already 3 points on the board, whereas Newcastle, we don't. Albeit we did play probably, you could say, one of the favorites to win the Champions League. So it's not like we lost to I don't know, Sunderland. Oh wait,
that was your hardest game, Barcelona. Yeah. That was definitely along with maybe PSG, but definitely your hardest game for sure.
Yeah. So I think obviously our Champions League campaign started last week actually. This day last week, but now I think in terms of the expectation is different against Barcelona. Maybe we could get something. If we didn't, it's Barcelona. Okay, fair enough. But this one, Union Saint-Gilloise, obviously, not just they have Kevin McAllister, but they are also co-owned by Tony Bloom of
Brighton. Sister club of Brighton.
Yeah, and obviously some players they have Promise, who scored that penalty. A name from the Premier League people might remember, Sofiane Boufal is in their team. You have Kevin Rodriguez from Ecuador. You have let me see, who else do I know from here? Probably not as much, but basically,
to be fair with Union, they're kind of like there's actually a lot of similarities with them and Bodø Glimt. They're actually a good team. This team. I know. I'll be lying if I said I've watched them loads or anything, but they, from what I have seen and what I hear, they're a tricky team. They're sort of like a Bodø Glimt in the sense they're sort of this underdog. Yeah, they're sort of like this underdog that nobody expected. And in Belgium, they're not even like a really big club or anything.
And now they're top of the table.
Exactly, yeah. And they won last season. They won their first title for 90 years or something. It was crazy. So this team, look, I hear a lot of good things about this team. They're a team that's not easy. They're a very good team. And you saw it against PSV and everything.
Yeah. I would think Newcastle are better than PSV. I would hope so.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when we played PSV in January.
I think you'll smash them, if I'm honest. PSV. Yeah, you'll smash them.
But we'll get there when it comes.
This will be a harder game. I'll tell you this, Union will be a harder game than PSV.
Yeah, especially this is an away game, so obviously there's no home or no Newcastle fans. Well, there will be, but I mean, like, not as much because I don't think the allocation is that big, I would think. But obviously, this game, I am going with this with a bit of caution, I would say, because obviously, if I want to make some similarities, they're like Brighton, obviously, owner being Tony Bloom, and obviously, we don't have a good record against Brighton overall. So, even based on that, I'm kind of a bit worried. And also, Union Saint-Gilloise are doing really well in the Belgian Pro League. I think that's what you call it.
Isn't it called like the Jupiter Pro League or something?
I call it the Jupiter League. I think
the Jupiter League, yeah.
Jupiler, I think it's called.
Oh, Jupiler. Oh, I thought it was Jupiter. Oh, Jupiler, not Jupiter.
No, I think I call it Jupiter.
Jupiter.
I think it's a beer. I think Jupiler, but actually they obviously play on Saturday, this coming Saturday against Westerlo, and the game after they play us is Club Brugge away. And actually, Westerlo and Club Brugge played a 5-5 draw.
Oh my god!
In the league.
Ange would love it. Ange would be would have a field day. Ange would be like, it's who we are, mate. Entertainment. And if Ange drew a game, I'm telling you, if Ange drew a game 5-5, he would like go crazy. Like he'd be delighted with himself if he drew 5-5.
Yeah. But obviously this is our first away game in Europe in the Champions League. And to be honest, people would say, oh, Newcastle should win, but you know, our record in the Champions League since coming back, it's now been 7 games.
You've played like the top teams though since you've come back.
1 win in 7 now. Albeit AC Milan have been Champions League winners, Barcelona obviously, Dortmund have won it, PSG eventually won it this past season. Union Saint-Gilloise, obviously not a Champions League regular. Maybe eventually they will be like us, hopefully. But I am a bit cautious, and considering our 3 away games so far this season have been 0-0, and this is I would say Union Saint-Gilloise are, I think, good enough to beat a Leeds, good enough to beat a Villa, good enough to beat a Bournemouth, who we have played away, but we've drawn those games 0-0, and maybe we sneak a 1-0. Like a smash and grab, I feel like. I think we'll have that sort of similar game plan that we did against Bournemouth. And I will probably go with a 1-0. Maybe like it could just be like a penalty for us or something like that. I'm hopeful, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't win, I would say. Because I think I'm kind of now banking on the next 2 home games, which I think I'm a little bit more...
Well, I said this about Newcastle. I said you'll rely a lot on your home games, I think, in the Champions League.
Yeah. But obviously, if we don't win, that would be at most 1 point in 6, which isn't a good start. But obviously, I would say as long as we get top 24, at least for us, would be a success, finally making the knockouts for by technicality, first time ever in the Champions League. So... yeah, I'll stick with 1-0, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't win. Either draw or lose, I would say. Because I think Union Saint-Gilloise, just like Club Brugge, who I am predicting to finish top 8 in the Champions League phase, currently are in the top 8. So I wouldn't be surprised if both Belgian clubs now, USG and Club Brugge, both of them make the knockouts, whereas the Dutch clubs, PSV and Ajax, probably don't. But I will go 1-0, but that's with caution and a bit of hope, I would say. 1-0, set-piece goal or a penalty, something like that. Who I would love to see score? Why not Dan Burn? I guess he's been good.
Big Dan Burn.
He didn't play last night, but obviously...
Dan Burn, he's getting ready to body like Arsenal again. He's getting ready to dominate Arsenal like last time.
Yeah. But I would say our squad is a lot better in terms of the past 2-3 seasons, or the season we were in the Champions League. The squad wasn't good enough this time, now I've seen us do squad rotation this past 2 games and still put out a pretty decent squad, against Bournemouth and Bradford. I know probably not as good as Arsenal and probably USG, but a pretty good squad rotation. And as long as we avoid any injury or suspension, because obviously I think Fabian Schär is still out with a concussion, I think. But so far, our defense has been pretty good. And hopefully, if not in the Arsenal game, hopefully in the USG game could deliver. So I'll go narrow 1-0, but that's with hope and caution. I wouldn't be surprised if we lose or draw. That's what I'm saying. So just a hopeful prediction.
Yeah, I think I'll just say this as well. I'm glad that Spurs aren't facing either USG or Club Brugge because, fun fact, Spurs have never won in Belgium, ever. We've never won a game in Belgium in our history.
We've played Club Brugge in 2012 Europa League. I forgot whether we won or whatever, but we did make it through the knockouts.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I remember because Spurs, we played Ghent, we played Anderlecht, we played Antwerp. We've never won in Belgium. Never. Yeah. We haven't played very often. We haven't played Belgian teams that often in Europe. We haven't played them like most years. But
your best defenders in recent times have been
Toby and Jan, both from Belgium, although they both came from Ajax.
Actually, what do you call this? The manager of USG is Steven Polognoli, who is back then a defender.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, so I think that, Belgium, so thankfully we're not playing any Belgian teams. Although we did win the UEFA Cup or the Europa in '84. Our last one before the most recent one in this year. The last Europa League we won was in '84 against Anderlecht in the final. And that was over 2 legs, but we drew in Belgium. And then drew at home and won on penalties. So even then, when we won against a Belgian team in the final. So, yeah, but look, with Newcastle, when we did our sort of predictions, kind of early predictions for all the games, I said you would draw this game. I think that, like I was saying, USG are a good team. They're a good team. They've got some sort of these talents that I think, you could probably see getting maybe poached from sort of bigger teams, from like top 5 leagues and everything. So definitely not a team to underestimate, especially at their ground. I think, anyone that goes there, I think it could be, or technically not, but I think it could be a difficult game for it, to be honest. I'm yet to see Newcastle away in the Champions League yet. Obviously, this is the first game, so I don't really know entirely what they're going to be like. I just get the feeling they're going to rely on a lot on the home games, although they have just lost to Barca, but that was obviously, the hardest one by far out of all the games they're going to play. So I think that, I think you guys have to play a strong team, kind of like I said about us with Bodø. I don't think you can underestimate them. I think they're a team that, they're capable of definitely getting results out of some good teams. So, yes, it's a tough one to call, to be honest. I can see it going either way. I think it will be close. I think I might stick to my early prediction. I might go for a draw, to be honest. I think, I'll go maybe not 0-0 this time, but I'll go 1-1 in this game.
I mean, hopefully at least we score away from home,
I think you will. I don't think, I'll just say this. I don't think you lose, but I think you might struggle a little bit, and I think it might be a draw. It'll be a close game, though. So, I'll go 1-1, but look, you guys could win. I think it's definitely possible, but I think they might get a bit, being at home, I think they might get a bit more joy. So, so we'll see. But I think it will be a hard game. Like I said, you guys can't underestimate them, but I don't think you'll lose. I think you'll get something. So I think a draw, which obviously, 1 point from 6 wouldn't be the best, but I think you've got some very winnable games coming up after that in the Champions League. So if you're talking about the top 24, you'll be all right. I'm very confident Newcastle will.
I mean,
Newcastle ain't getting groups. That Newcastle are way better than, the likes of, who's going to get groups? Like, they're way better than those teams. So,
well, we'll see. But I guess we'll wrap up the show here. And actually, with a lot of topics, we did an hour and 20 minutes. So pretty good.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, and actually, at one point, I saw 13, 14 people watching the stream at one point. So
fantastic!
Some likes and maybe new subscribers, or I know PVFC Live was one of them, and big up to him obviously for joining the chat. But yeah, we'll call it a day for the show. And obviously, the next time we do this show will be on the 2nd, right? Yeah, 2nd of October. Obviously, when we review and hopefully we get a bit of tears, maybe from both of us actually, if results don't go our way. But if we win both of our games, both of us, then definitely a very good.
It'll be a good show. It will be a good
it'll
show.
be a good show. Coming into the weekend after, which is actually my birthday on that Saturday, the 4th, when you guys play your leagues. But when that happens, we'll do it. But yeah, any shout out?
Yeah, just before I go, I'll share it one more time, just as a reminder. This weekend, on Saturday against Wolves, we must defeat the Kryptonite. We must end this. We must. Like I said, these three things have bothered me. They have caused me a lot of pain. These three things in football, supporting both my teams, they've caused me pain. So
one of them
let's end.
Happiness.
Yeah. So let's end in terms of Wolves. Let's end this bogey team nonsense and finally beat Wolves. So, and then look, I don't know. Tim Krul's obviously retired, so we can't. Although we did when Son won the Golden Boot, we did. We scored. We scored 5 past him. Yeah. So maybe I guess you could say maybe we already defeated the Tim Krul Kryptonite, but then Cittadella, it doesn't matter because hopefully Palermo will get promoted and Cittadella right now are in Serie C. So hopefully, assuming we get promoted, it will hopefully be a long time before if we face Cittadella again. So I don't know. But yeah, this weekend, the bogey team nonsense must end. So please, just please. So,
but oh well.
So there you go. But yeah, 10 as always. Thanks for having me on. Great show as always. Hopefully you guys get a win against Arsenal. I'll be 100% rooting for you guys on Sunday. So please do the business once again, just like the last couple of years. And yeah, should be an interesting couple of games for both our teams. So yeah, obviously next show will be interesting, I'm sure. So yeah, 10 great shows always. Great to be on. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to 10s as well. So yeah, like I said, being streamed on both channels. So yeah, subscribe to both if you haven't already. And yeah, guys, big up everyone as always. So yeah, 10 great show once again.
Yeah, and obviously we'll be back at least for one of our next shows, the La Piña Rosa with Deportivo La Coruña and Palermo, and then obviously for this show on Thursday, 5 p.m.
It's interesting because Palermo actually play on Tuesday as well. We're playing Venezia. Yeah. It's the same time as the Bodø Glimt game, so both playing at once.
So maybe happiness or sadness.
Hopefully times 2 happiness.
We will find out. But yeah, we'll wrap it up, and the next time I'm on will be tomorrow for my La Liga show, and hopefully Real Oviedo win tonight against Barcelona. We'll see. I actually predicted 2-1 for them, but
wow,
yeah, who knows? I do think they lose, but just
Celta's playing tonight, right?
Stuttgart.
Celta. The Celta hate watch is on.
Oh yeah.